So this communism is social ownership.
That was the Adam and Sheridan Show new opening.
Wow, you know what, I gotta say, that jazzes me up. That gets me going. That makes me want to do a podcast.
No one says jazz. No one says jazz. All right, no, that was a wonderful opening. It was a bit Soviet. It was a bit Bolshevik.
We're not actually Soviet citizens. I don't even think the Soviet Union exists anymore.
No.
Actually.
Wasn't that gone in like 2003?
Somewhere around there.
It kind of ended last year.
Yeah.
It was weird. Started in 99. It was a tech boom thing. No, that was a wonderful thing. Check out Kenneth R. Fabridius. He's got a Vimeo. He's a professional editor, so that was a wonderful opening.
Also a longtime friend of mine. Thank you, Kenny, for doing that.
It's Facebook.
Yeah, well, Facebook is the legal arbiter.
I don't need to actually know people. I can just Facebook them. But we have a pretty big show for you.
Big podcast.
Yeah, we have a big podcast, and we have a big radio show. So on the radio show, we just basically lampooned Obama, which we don't normally do on our show. But there was so much to talk about this time, so we talked about his speech. That was. Well, you eating is so distracting.
I'm sorry. Let me explain. We're going to get into that.
Okay.
We're recording this at WRFA, at the Arts Council.
Which houses WRFA?
Yeah, and I noticed in the break room or the conference room there was a muffins, a box of them. There's like 8 of them, and it's what you say about 9:30 right now. It's 9:30 at night. Everyone's gone.
Everyone's gone.
And these things are moist and soft. They're not going to be like that for very long. So I'm taking full advantage. Anyway.
So our dressing down of Obama is on the radio. We talked about his speech at college, blaming people for not trying hard enough. We talked about his speech defending the assassination of one American citizen and the killing of 3 others, just cause. So, listen to our show for that. Tune in, definitely. 107.9 FM in Jamestown.
Since we're we're showing this podcast on Monday, after our show is aired. Don't fear, WRFALP.wordpress.com. You can listen to our podcast when it's up.
All right.
Now, since we talked about all that stuff on the show, what's the point of doing a podcast, you say? Well, we have things that we can't fit into that hour that we want to just briefly mention.
I feel you should put down the muffin at this point.
Okay, one more bite.
It's going to become distracting.
Okay.
That was way too much. I'm
malnourished.
Because of suburban poverty.
Okay, so there's crumbs everywhere.
The crumbs make it wonderful.
Look at ants.
They're like,
Just get them off there. So the Brookings Institution had a new study released recently that detailed a rise in suburban poverty. Now, normally in the United States, we think of poverty as being an inner city issue, an urban issue, or a rural issue. We think of either Appalachia, southern Missouri, places like that, or we think of Harlem or the Watts section of Los Angeles, whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, although those areas are still proportionally very impoverished, suburban poverty is on the rise. Of course, after the housing crisis in 2008, who were the people that were most affected by that? Suburban people, suburbanites we call them. And as most people know, most federal aid in housing goes to urban areas. So all these people that are being foreclosed on and who can no longer pay their bills on their houses, it's not as if there's any housing projects in the suburbs. So they have nowhere to go. They have to stay with either parents, stay with friends, or they have to move to the inner city in order to get free housing.
And I think part of this is a problem with visibility, because a lot of people, and this is not a bad thing, have been doing a lot of good work in the inner city, saying, listen, there's a huge bit of poverty going on, especially in minority communities, so we need to go into the cities, or we need to go into rural areas, and we need to really get this fixed. However, in suburbia, we keep thinking of it as this, TV show kind of, everyone's mowing their lawn, there's sprinklers everywhere, you have an idyllic kind of life.
It
this
used to be
Wonder
that way.
Years type thing. And that's not at all the way it is. There are a lot of people that are living in multi-generational houses because they just can't afford anything else. And there's a lot of poverty going on that goes unseen because especially in suburbia, people have a huge sense of shame and people don't talk to each other.
Right. And if you want to get a sense of exactly how bad the crisis is, since the year 2000, the number of people who are at or below the poverty line. Now, the poverty line for a family of 4 in the United States is just over $22,000.
Paltry sum.
$22,000, and I think
for a family of 4.
If you're an individual, I think it's half.
If you're
of that.
gnawing on the cardboard boxes, your crappy noodles you eat every other day counts as food. That's terrible.
So, and if you just count that, the number of people in poverty in the suburbs over the past 10 years has risen by 1 million people. This is in the United States, the most wealthy country in the world. So when we talk about austerity, we talk about poverty, we talk about what happened in 2008 and what's continuing to happen today, the enormous amount of wealth that is being transferred to the corporations, to the Fortune 500, to the Forbes 400 people, wealthiest people in the country. It's coming at the expense of people in the suburbs, people in the cities, people in rural areas, regular people like you and I. And it's getting worse. We talked about on the show about how austerity in Europe.
Austerity kills. So there was a report on Democracy Now! There's a book coming out, the Body Politic, I believe it's called, How Austerity Kills. And there was one instance in Spain that they were talking about, which is called eviction suicides. What's happening in Spain is if you default on your loan, which in the U.S. means the loan is written off, and then the bank tries to sell the property. You don't owe the vast majority of that.
So-called
fees and penalties. Basically, the property is the collateral, and they take that. In Spain, even if they repossess your house, even if they or take back some of your possessions, you still owe that money, that entire money. So suicide has risen greatly in Spain because of these people who are in enormous debt, now have no place to live, and just give themselves over to despair, which is just an incredibly sad thing. And even in the U.S., suicide, depression, alcoholism, domestic violence has risen so much.
Outpacing accidents, right?
Yeah. Car accidents are now beaten as far as suicide causes more deaths in the U.S. than car accidents,
which is historically is a new thing. It's a new thing.
Yeah.
We have to go.
We have to go. That's such a short notice. So
no, that's what's great about these things is we can just be like, you know how we do this show for an hour, like, which is bad.
Yeah. It's terrible.
This is very quick.
Yeah. This is very quick.
Email us at adamandsheridanshow@gmail.com.
Which you're going to see another fancy thing going on right
here. You can even leave a comment in the section below. We will read it on the podcast. We will read it on the air if you want us to. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're all over the web. Let us know what you think.
Yep. And did we go over the email?
adamandsheridanshow@gmail.com, the very first thing I said.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm not even paying attention to my own podcast.
Okay, I'm Adam Courtwright.
And I'm Sheridan. Stay active.
There's going to reach a point where you're going to wake up every morning. It's just going, because you're going to be in pain all the time.
I am in pain. Oh,
I know. I feel badly.
I got to bring up everything that hurts me.
I feel very badly for you in the future. Your future self has my pity.
No. Not now.
No, you're fine right now.
I've had a headache for 20 years, but whatever. What?
I'm going to have a cranial implosion. All right.
Did you drink the whole Red Bull?
Both of them. Speaking of which...